builds credibility when you're willing to admit when you've gotten something wrong. And by the way, remember, this is what she said when Joe Biden ultimately ended up dropping out of the presidential race.
Just thinking about the president right now, what a man, what a patriot.
Girl, the American public were getting boring every night with your MSNBC show. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Go outside and talk to real people. She is so out of touch with ordinary people. It is amazing.
Anna Kasparian just went head-to-head with MSNBC's golden girl, Rachel Maddow, and it wasn't pretty. The outspoken progressive unleashed on Maddow during a recent podcast, delivering blows that rattled the left and shocked her own political cycle. Viewers couldn't believe Kasparian actually went there. So what did Maddow say that set this firestorm off? And how did Kasparian's clapback leave everyone stunned? I've got the clips. Strap in.
Biden has been disqualified from running for the presidency, but anything having to do with any of his performance. It's just that it's going to be a tough fight. Yeah. And so I think the backup plan is fight harder. Yeah. The backup plan is make sure you win the Senate. The backup plan is people should volunteer earlier and do more and give more money and do all of those things.
That was MSNBC host Rachel Maddow back in June of 2024. And keep that in mind when you consider that Semaphore spoke to key media figures across digital, print, and legacy media, Republicans and Democrats, to discuss the things that they got wrong in 2024.
Anna kicks things off by rolling an old clip of Rachel Maddow bragging about her 2024 predictions. Back then, Maddow and MSNBC were shouting the loudest, swearing Biden was in top form while the rest of us watched his decline play out in real time. According to them, he was sharper than ever, and every blunder was brushed off as just a harmless slip. They sold that fantasy hard, until it all came crashing down and they were forced to abandon ship.
Judging by that video you just watched, Rachel Maddow did get some things wrong. The question is, did she learn a damn thing about it? Well, rather than citing her real mistakes and terrible predictions, she actually ended up blaming her audience. So here's her statement to Semaphore. She said, I thought people would be more unnerved by J.D. Vance. Less the cat lady thing and more the Americans are going to have to get over the dictator phobia Mencius Moldbug thing. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Mencius Moldbug, that's a pseudonym for Curtis Yarvin, and Curtis Yarvin is someone who's against liberal democracy and is in favor of a monarchy, though he seems to have a tough time defending that position. Cenk Uygur actually interviewed him about it, and it was embarrassing.
And that's the pattern every single time. When their predictions flop, they don't take the loss. They gaslight us into thinking we misunderstood them. Classic. Just look at legacy media. They swore Trump would lose in a squeaker, maybe after a runoff. But when reality proved them dead wrong, they flipped the script and blamed us for misinterpreting their expert analysis. Same playbook with Maddow. She flat out predicted Biden would run in 2024. When that crashed and burned, did she own it? Of course not. She spun it into some noble exit story, insisting Biden wasn't failing. It was just circumstantial. Pure delusional damage control.
October 1st, Gallup released the following poll comparing voter ratings between Tim Walz, who was the VP pick for Kamala Harris, and J.D. Vance. And yeah, I mean, she is right that people didn't seem to fear J.D. Vance as much as she was hoping for. So at that point in time, in October of 2024, less than half of registered voters nationally had a positive view of Tim Walz or J.D. Vance. A combined 46% rate Walz as either an excellent or pretty good choice versus 41% for J.D. Vance. And despite Walz's slight lead on this measure, the two were equally likely to be rated as poor choices. Just under 4 in 10 voters see each as such. So she is right that people didn't buy into the fear-mongering about J.D. Vance as much as she hoped for, but to kind of pivot to what she believes her audience got wrong or the Democratic voters got wrong, or voters in general got wrong, instead of taking ownership of the thing she got wrong, is kind of amazing.
When the Biden fiasco finally blew up, Rachel Maddow didn't skip a beat. She just pivoted. This time her target was J.D. Vance, smugly insisting voters wouldn't embrace him, and that Tim Walz was a safer bet. But reality didn't cooperate. Reports showed not only did people like Vance, he became a key force in re-energizing Trump's base and helping drive him back into the White House. So, did Maddow admit she blew it? Of course not. She pulled the same legacy media stunt, gaslighting her audience, spinning half-truths, and pretending her words meant something else entirely. It's the oldest trick in their book. When facts clash with a fantasy, they rewrite the script mid-scene and pray no one notices. Spoiler, we noticed.
Dictatorphobia, Mencius Moblug. Like, what are you talking about? So, look, I interviewed Curtis Yarderman, as Anna pointed out, so I know what she's talking about. The average person doesn't. And nobody knows about Curtis Yarwood. And yeah, he's comical and ridiculous, and that's why I'm worried about J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, and that's why I voted against them. But the average guy doesn't know that Curtis Yarwood is in favor of a monarchy, which is actually a dictatorship, which is what J.D. Vance was, the fact that J.D. Vance is in favor of that is problematic, etc. So, one, out of touch with what actual human beings are going through. They're worried about gas prices and food prices. They're not worried about Mencius Moldbug, who they've never heard of. And secondly, and even more importantly, she's saying, damn it, the fear-mongering didn't work.
Beyond the standard fear-mongering, Democrats and their media megaphone Rachel Maddow went nuclear on Trump and J.D. Vance. This wasn't ordinary criticism. It was character assassination on overdrive. Trump was cast as the devil himself, while Vance was painted as some backwards bogeyman lurking in the shadows, ready to drag America into a dystopian nightmare. Night after night, Maddow spun apocalyptic stories. A Trump-Vance ticket would collapse democracy, erase civil rights, maybe even topple Western civilization. It was political horror fiction masquerading as analysis. But here's the kicker. It was never about informing the public. It was about scaring voters into submission. A propaganda campaign wrapped in studio lights and delivered with smug certainty. And when none of it came true, they just moved on. No apology. No accountability.
It's amazing that, look, I'm always amazed at the, allergic reaction to any self-reflection at all. It's okay to admit that you got things wrong. It's actually admirable when people admit, especially people in media who are supposed to be, sharing accurate information. It's okay to say, look, I got that wrong. In fact, we're going to give you examples of people who actually did take ownership, and I give them a lot of credit for that. It builds credibility when you're willing to admit when you've gotten something.
Credibility? The media cashed that out long ago. What drives them now are two things, eyeballs and ideology, and they'll sell both to the highest bidder. Truth isn't the mission, controlling the narrative is. As long as you're hooked, doom-scrolling their outrage headlines, they've done their job. Years ago, they cracked the code. Bashing Trump wasn't just politics, it was profit. Every insult, every bombshell, every overblown scandal meant clicks, ratings, and cash. They didn't just report on Trump. They built an entire media economy on tearing him down.